Good morning, everyone. How's it going? How's everybody doing? All right. We're live. I hope everybody can hear me and see me okay. We're show 235 today, and I'm glad to see you guys. Missed you guys. Hope you had an excellent week. Last week we were on an alternate day, so maybe some of you might have missed the show. We actually did it on a Saturday as opposed to a Sunday, and I just switched it up, not because I wanted to confuse anybody, but just because... Oh, let me move the mic over a little bit here. Just because I didn't want to confuse anybody. I just wanted to make room because I was going to be busy on the Sunday. And I didn't want to jip you guys out of a live show, so I decided to move it over a little bit. Can you guys hear me okay? Is it loud enough? Let me know if I need to get the microphone a little closer. So this week we got a lot of cool things to talk about. It's show 235. As I mentioned, we're getting super close to the holidays, which for some of you might be a festive time, others might be a stressful time. But either way, hopefully you have something interesting lined up, maybe even just a little R&R. Sometimes that's the best way to spend the holidays, just recuperating and recharging those batteries. I've been fighting off the bugs. My wife has been out for at least a couple of weeks. I think I mentioned to you guys she was under the weather. She's starting to come around. She's starting to turn the corner, so to speak. But I'm telling you, man, I've been feeling like I've been fighting the bugs off, but I've been, taking my vitamin C and zinc and everything else that I can to kind of not... I didn't want her to take me down. So hopefully... we'll survive and we won't be sick this holiday. There's nothing worse than spending your time off sick. Anyways, hope you guys are all in shape. What are we talking about today, guys? Anything interesting you guys want to bring up besides those crazy drones in New Jersey? I'm sure you guys have probably heard about those drones flying around. Anybody from New Jersey here? Maybe some of you have seen these things. I don't know if we're getting ready to be invaded or not. I hope so. I would look forward to it. I'm telling you. It would be great if we can change the focus from all the stupidities we're dealing with on a daily basis here, and welcome these time travelers. Take me away. I'd be in line. Dan says yes. So Dan, have you spotted any of these drones? What's going on in your neck of the woods? Is this ET coming back to phone home, or what's going on? It's pretty interesting. I'm sure that a lot of people have already talked about it, and they're like, we don't see anything strange. It's all normal. Probably a bunch of teenagers messing around with the drones or something like that they got for early Christmas gifts or Black Friday gifts or something like that. Dan says he hasn't seen anybody. Hasn't seen anything out of the ordinary. All right. That's good. What about you, time surfing alien? Oh. All right. Well, if anybody did see anything, let me know. Vitamin C and plenty of water is on the regiment, time surfing alien, as well as maybe a few shots of Fireball or something like that. The cinnamon always helps the throat, I think. Anyway, we'll see. All right. So welcome, everybody. Welcome to the show. You know the drill. If you're new, please subscribe so you can chat. A lot of people here are not new, regular names and faces that we see very regularly, and I appreciate you guys coming back for more punishment. You didn't let me finish. Hopefully you guys are enjoying the shows. I'm having a good time. I'm wondering if we should change the name or maybe christen the live show with an official name, because I don't really have a name for it besides the Addicted to Gear live show, Sunday show, or something like that, but I don't have an actual name. If any of you have some suggestions, let me know. Maybe we can come up with a term or something that can make it stand out a little more. As per usual, we have a poll today, and the poll will be answered. We'll look at the poll a little later. It was a pretty straightforward poll, and I'll tell you why I chose that as today's poll. A little later on, we'll take a look at it. And if you guys have anything new that you want to bring up in terms of gear, something that's caught your eye, let us know. Shane jumped right in and says he got a new VESP SV Aero type. And I saw that one. Looks really cool. I don't know how you're adapting to the V shape. I think if you have if you're playing a V-shaped guitar, like a flying V-shaped guitar for the first time, it would probably require a little bit of time to get used to it. Probably more comfortable if you're playing it standing up as opposed to sitting down. Jean-Pierre says he's watching me on his new iPad Pro. So Christmas came early for you, JP. Good, good. He says you look better than ever. I hope it's not too clear. Let's see here. And Eddie Jr. says he's finishing his honey-do list. Yeah, you always have to keep the wife happy, Eddie. That's the key. Happy wife, happy life. We know that. Rico says, Tony, thanks for keeping the Sunday show versus Saturday. Well, yeah, Rico, I think everybody's kind of used to being tuning in on Sunday. So Sunday's cool. I don't usually change the time slot, guys. It's usually Sunday most of the time unless something comes up. I think it just works better for everyone. SB says, did you see that TC Tone Print loader pedal? Basically, you have 8 slots and you can load any digital 8 digital sounds into a pedal. And they have it, and you have it saved, and you can save your slots. Yeah, I did see that. Actually, I wanted to talk about that. TC Electronics comes out with really cool things. I really do like their tone print technology, and that pedal would definitely be on my radar if it were not for the fact that I have most of the sounds that they offer. But I think if you don't already have it or don't have those types of sounds, that's a nice pedal to have, man. I don't know the cost of it. Yeah, it's really nice. The plethora, I think they call it, right? If I'm not mistaken. Let me just jump on the website because, yeah, I saw it. I saw it earlier this week, and I'm just not clear on the price of it yet. So basically, it's an all-in-one type of pedal. They call it the Sonic Toolbox Plethora X1. They call it. So you can have 14 effects, not 8. I think it's 14 actually. Everything from reverb, I guess. You can put chorus. You can put. I'm not sure if they have any distortion sounds. I think it's probably mostly modulation sounds. So they have the Hall of Fame 2 reverb, which I have already. They have the flashback 2 delay, which I have already. The Helix phaser, I don't have the phaser. They have the Vicious Vibe, which I don't really use Vibe all that much. Sub and Up Octaver, which is cool to have, but I don't really use octave effects. And then they have the Brainwaves Pitch Shifter. They have the Corona Chorus, which I already have. And they do have the Hypergravity Compressor, Mimic Doubler, Vortex Flanger, Pipeline Typed Tremolo, Quintessence, you can't even say it, Quintessence Harmony, and Century Noise Gate and Shaker Vibrato. So I would say that there's enough things in there to make it worthwhile because look, The noise gate is awesome. It's great to have. I don't have that. The harmony function is really nice. Pitch shifter is always fun to play with. Yeah, I would say it would be a great pedal. Also, if you want to eliminate some clutter on your board, that would be great because you could take off. Like I can easily take away at least 2 or 3 of the TC electronic pedals. Now, how much does it cost? That's the question. I don't see it listed. The old Plethora, the big one, was a lot more expensive. The X5 was $459, but I think the small one should be around the $200 range. I'm not sure. So if anybody knows what the price is, let me know. So let me take a moment to say hi to everybody before we jump into the questions. And by the way, if you have questions, guys, you know what to do. Put the little question marks before. SB says it's around $190. Yeah, that's a good deal, man. That's a really good deal. I'm all for lightening up pedal boards. Now, my only question is, can you make it so that the effects could be played in parallel? So in other words, if you're saving your sounds, for example, and you want to have delay going into some reverb, going into pitch shifting, like normally when you have 3 pedals, you can turn on and off the individual pedals. With this one, you probably have to pre-program all of that stuff. So you probably would have to use some kind of software, which could make it a little bit more challenging to use as opposed to having just individual pedals. But I don't know too much about it yet, so I'm going to have to take a look at it. But if it's, Rico says 129 on Sweetwater, so that's, I guess, the American price. The Canadian price obviously is going to be a bit more, but that's cheap. Yeah, I think that's something I want to check out. Hey, Steven. Hope you're doing well, buddy. Thank you for reminding people to hit the thumbs up. I always forget to mention that. But yeah, if you can hit the thumbs button, I would appreciate it. That's always cool. If any of you guys are fooling around with pedals, has anybody tried the El Cambo pedal from TC Electronics? It's really inexpensive. I think it's like $50. And it's basically an overdrive pedal. I think it's I'm pretty sure it's probably meant to be like a tube screamer type pedal, I think. I don't know if it just has a little bit more gain on tap. But for $49, it's pretty inexpensive. I haven't tried it yet, but that's another thing I've been looking at. You can never have enough drive pedals, in my opinion. We're always looking for one more, right? All right, so here we go, guys. Let's jump into it. Rico says, Tony, I sent you an email photo if you want to show it. I will, Rico. I got it. Thank you for sending that, Rico. I'll show it towards the middle of the show. If I forget, please remind me, but I have it on my to-do list. My honey-do list. I have my own honey-do list here, guys. All right, so good morning, Dan. Good morning, Jack, NFN, Wayne, Nella, J. Paul. J. Paul had a question that I skipped over, so I'm going to answer that one. I got a question. What can I do to reduce unwanted noise coming from the hollow where the trem spring and claw sit? That cavity is ringing out like a reverb effect. Edge 0 to floating trem. I have a video on that, J. Paul, if you go into my archive. But basically, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to dampen those those springs. It's the springs that are causing that to happen. You can do a couple of things that will help. I showed on my video, there's a little trick that I did with shrink tubing that you can wrap around your claw, your springs, and that will, you don't have to put it in very, like you don't have to shrink wrap it necessarily, just use a very nice snug fit, and that will usually dampen it. Some people will put like things like shoelaces. They'll pass like a thick shoelace right between inside of the spring, and that'll dampen it as well. Or you can do a combination of those. It's just basically vibration from the springs. That's all it is. So you can check out the video. It's in my archive somewhere. And that should help. NFM says he's shoveling snow, 15 inches. You know, I'm not looking forward to snow at all, NFM. We already got snow here too as well. And I try as much as possible not to shovel. If I can. I get my son to do it since he's a young burly man with lots of muscles. But he doesn't always cooperate. So sometimes I have to bribe him. But you got to do what you got to do. So where was I? It's me, John P. is here. Time Serving Alien, Vinny's World, Marcel, Davis Music, Presley. All right. I'm just scrolling through the names, guys, just to see if I missed anything. Okay, let me scroll back to the bottom. If I scrolled past your message, guys, just post it again, please. Sometimes I just have to scroll because there's so many messages coming by. I want to keep up. Shane Walton says, hey Shane, how's it going? Is there such a thing as low output EMGs? My new EMGs are quiet, playing clean, even with a new battery. Okay, so you're wondering if you have a set of low output EMGs in your guitar right now? I don't think so. I don't think there's such a thing as low output EMGs. How are they adjusted? Are the heights on the pickups adjusted properly, Shane? Maybe they're just a little too low. The battery's good, you say? So I really haven't ever heard of low output EMGs. Rick says, as a bass player, I need 2 effects, an octaver, and a chorus. Do you know any local builders that would be able to build one of these? For bass guitar? I don't know any local builders that will do custom orders like that, no. But Rick, you can, you know, Fender just announced a whole bunch of pedals for bass players. I didn't really pay attention because I'm not really into pedals for bass guitar, but they did announce something. I saw it go by my feed, so there might be something in there for you. I would have to find it, but I'm pretty sure they announced a few this week. If any of you have seen it, please maybe you can point us to the link to that, and I could take a look at it for Rick. So Paul has his suggestion of the week, which we all love. Thank you for consistently posting some suggestions, Paul. We appreciate that. He says, new Zoom multi-stomp, the MS90 LP Plus looper drum machine, 90 minutes of stereo, 13 hours of mono, 100 places to store. Uses MIDI in and out, $215. Interesting. I like those multi-effects units. I find that they're really, really cool. Actually, even more the Chinese brand Moor, Mooer, is it, if I'm pronouncing it correctly. They have a cool one too, by the way. I don't know. I don't know how good it is, but they call it the GL100 looper pedal, and it's got a looper and a drum machine. So it's a 2-in-1. It's got 100 slots. It's got 300 minutes in total audio record time, and it also has a stretch function, which I don't really know what it does exactly, and it comes with some editing software. So it's pretty cool. It's got a nice display on it. It looks pretty compact. It's got 2 switches on it. It's 111 bucks Canadian. So I don't know how good it is. I haven't tried it. I might reach out to them and see if they can send me one to test out. It looks interesting. I've tested out a few, and some work better than others. With these type of pedals, especially looper pedals, it really comes down to ease of use. And if it's not easy to use, it ends up being a pain, and you end up just putting it back in the box and getting rid of it after a while. But a lot of people do like them. I think it's a great tool to mess around with. Always feel like you can come up with some really cool ideas when you're fooling around with a looper pedal. So I might check that one out too. A couple of interesting ideas for those of you that are looking for pedals. So did Shane answer my question? Yeah, says I'll try to raise the pups. Yeah, you should raise them up a little bit, Shane. Just maybe they're just too low. It makes a huge difference. Like technically, I like to set my pickups, I would say, like maybe a quarter of an inch, maybe a little less than that. I don't have a measuring tool here, so I can't really show you, but about a quarter of an inch, I would say, more or less on the pickups. Today I'm playing this guitar. This is a sleeper guitar, which I think they took off the market, and I kind of understand why. I like these guitars a lot. This is a Squier Contemporary. You can tell by the headstock here. These are great guitars, man. I don't know why you would want to pay $1,000 for a Charvel when you could have grabbed one of these. When I bought these, I think they were probably around, they were under like $400, and I got these used, and they were brand new for, I think it was 200 something, 250 maybe. Can't remember exactly, 275 at most. And they're fantastic. I got 2 of them. I like them so much because they have the humbuckers. You can see the humbuckers there. And they have only a volume and tone with the 3-way switch. Really nice fretboard here. Maple fretboard. Skunk stripe and everything. And the body is really a really nice body. This is, you can't really tell on camera, but it's a sparkle. It's like a pearlescent guitar. I don't know if you can see that. Beautiful guitar. And, you grab one of these, customize it as you wish. There's no issues in terms of like, playing through my Marshall Studio Vintage here today. No pedals or anything, just the amp. How heavy is the Strat? Not really sure. It is a little bit on the heavier side compared to some of my other Strats, but not uncomfortably so though. I would have to, I don't have my oh man, I don't have my weighing tool. There's not a lot of there's not a lot of bells and whistles. That's what I like about these guitars. And I got a white one and I got a red one. Slightly different, but pretty much the same. You have the humbuckers, which I like. I've owned a Charvel in the past. They're still selling for over $1,000. You're basically getting the same type of guitar. Honestly, there's not that much extra in a Charvel, really, unless you want to get a Floyd, which I'm kind of I don't need a Floyd on all of my guitars, so I don't play this one enough. I think this one's all stock. Yeah, I think yeah, the red one I changed the I put in a brass block on the bridge just because I did a comparison video between this one and the red one with the brass block, one without, just to see if the brass block made a difference. A little bit of a difference, not that much, but basically all stock. And the thing is, they don't sell these anymore. They don't sell them anymore now. The ones that they're selling now is, let me see here if I can find it here, is this one. I'll show you guys. I don't like them as much. So can you see that? So these are the ones that they're selling. You see, they're not the same. They're about $400 brand new. I don't like these pickups like that. I don't like the slanted pickups at all. Now I'm guessing that if you take the pick guard off, there will be probably it will probably be routed for 2 humbuckers. So if you want to change it up, you can probably get one of these and you can put 2 regular humbuckers in there as opposed to the slanted pickups, which I don't really like. I also don't like the fact that they changed the bridge. The bridge on these is not floating, you see? It's screwed in. So if it's screwed in like that, this is it's got active pickups, by the way. See where the battery compartment is? And it's loaded from the back like a Telecaster. I like the fact that they did put in the contoured little contour here. Mine doesn't have that. But I think I like mine better. Also, it has the big headstock, which I'm not a fan of the big head. I don't like the big headstock as much. And I don't like the, I'm not a big fan of the fretboard on these. I prefer the maple. You see what I mean? So they've kind of dumbed it down. They're offering the one that is less desirable, in my opinion, because most people would probably prefer this one, but this one was probably cannibalizing others. So they probably decided to take this one off the market. So I'm glad I grabbed it when I did. Marcel says, Tony, did you do some cleaning and can't find things now? LOL, I'm the same. Yeah, I have a method to my madness. If things are messed up, they might seem messed up, but I know exactly where everything is. As soon as I try and clean things, I can't find a damn thing anymore. So, you know, no, there's no split on this guitar. There's no fancy splitting or anything like that. No, you can't split the pickups. I mean, I can probably modify it to do that if I wanted to, but I'm not a big fan of that. Hey, Goats on the Roof, nice to see you. Thank you for joining us. So I guess that answers your question, Davis. It's pretty much stock. Yeah, there's nothing I changed on this guitar. It's a fantastic guitar. I don't know, I don't play it enough. Marcel says the guitar is pretty loud compared to the voice. Yeah, sorry about that, Marcel. I probably don't have things balanced all that well. Vinny said he almost bought one. Just ended up modding my Strat. Yeah, that's another thing you can do. Just mod the ones you already have. Cool Tune says, Tony, how come yours SV20 is hooked up to your Egnator? Okay, it's not. It's not hooked up to my Egnator. It's just sitting on my Egnator. It's actually hooked up to, I mean, it is hooked up to my Egnator, but I'm not playing it through the speaker right now. I'm playing it through the aux, because the aux is easier to get into the DAW, and I don't have to blast it. Like, to get this kind of saturation that you're hearing on the SV20, it's really cranked up loud. Like, it's cranked up, you know how it is with the Marshalls, right? So the knob turned all the way down. You know, you're looking at what is it? On the clock dial, you're looking at 6 o'clock if it's all the way down. Well, now the volumes are about, I'm gonna say 3 o'clock, 2.5, 3 o'clock. Both of them pretty loud. So if I had to play this loud, like through the speakers, it would be uncomfortably loud. Let's just put it that way. Mr. Fats says, does Tony own any acoustics? Or does Tony not like those? I find those boring and very limiting. I like acoustic guitars, actually, Mr. Fats. Yeah, I got a few. None here. I tend to keep those in the case because those are a bit more fragile. I'm going to say I have about 4 or 5 acoustic guitars that I enjoy playing. One's a 12-string guitar. Let me think here. Okay, I got a 12-string. I have a regular, a Martin. I have Epiphone, Hummingbird. I have some carbon fiber acoustics, like hybrid carbon fiber acoustics. I have an old Yamaha acoustic guitar that my son uses right now. I have a variety of different ones, but I love playing acoustic guitar. Boomerang likes my shirt. Yeah, that's my attitude today. Let's get into a little bit of trouble. Oh, by the way, guys, just if any of you was following the whole Uncle Larry imitation video thing that he was doing, I didn't win. So if you guys watched my video, I just created that for giggles, and I wasn't intending on winning anything in the contest. I just wanted to do it because I like Uncle Larry, but I didn't win, unfortunately. I thought I did pretty good though. A lot of people got some laughs out of that video. I don't know if you guys have seen it or not. It's in my feed. But I did make Larry's honorable mention reel that he put out yesterday. If you watch it, I'm in there as well. So a lot of good ones, I have to say. A lot of creative people impersonating Uncle Larry, which I thought was pretty hilarious. He's a great guy. Tom Bukovac is one of my favorite session musicians, and he's a lot of fun to watch. Stuart says, I have a Squier that was a Guitar Center 50th anniversary model, HSS, Rosewood, Agathis body, 2-point trem with brass saddle, stupid good guitar after some elbow grease from me. I think a lot of these guitars are fantastic, and you know, this is the thing that I'm always hunting for whenever I see new models, but they're starting to smarten up. Fender's starting to smarten up, Gibson as well. They know exactly where they have to place those new models so that they don't compete with older models. And that's why they're constantly shifting the models that are available. You know, some come, some go. They had the contemporary version like this one with EMG pickups, and with a Floyd, if I'm not mistaken, too, which you know, some people like, some people don't. I prefer to go this model, you know, keep it simple. But that one I also think is not available anymore also. So Paul says, Tony, I set my Friedman IRX pre to sound like your Plexi. I go through a Celestion Greenback RR, done. I just use my pedal board. You know, Paul, those Friedmans are probably selling like hotcakes right now. I know a lot of people do like them. Very versatile little piece of gear. And honestly, if I didn't already have the amp, I'd probably check out the IRX. It seems to be the tones that I like. I don't know how well it cleans up. If you can get relatively clean sounds, like I can get pretty clean sounds out of the Marshall if I just you know, play around with the volume levels. I think Marshall really knocked this one out of the park. It stopped me from buying quite a few other amplifiers because you can do so much with it. You get such a great variety of tones, and I'm not even using pedals. Like if you start layering pedal effects and stuff like that, it really sounds amazing. Alex says, good morning, Tony. I'm playing my Fender Mexican Strat HSS with maple fretboard. Just love it. Yeah, let me know what you all are playing if you are playing something while you're watching the show. Shane says acoustics are for the weak. Zach says I'm a big fan of acoustic guitar. I love acoustic guitar. It's such a nice way to you know, it's very melodic. So if you want to play guitar to actually like sing along and stuff like that, acoustics are great. And it gets you to just to fine tune your chord chops. All right, so let's look at a few different things here. So, oh yeah, I had a couple of things I wanted to talk to you guys about before I forget. Have you guys checked out this new pick? There's a company that came out with this pick called the Pick Twist. It's basically it's a pick that is not necessarily flat. It's a little curved. It's got a curve to it. They call it like the 3D pick because it's got a shape to it. And here, maybe I can show you a picture of this thing. Can I show you a picture of this thing? Let me see if I can pull it up. Can you guys see this? So this is a side view of the pick. Have you seen it? This guy? I'm curious to try that out. It's a Kickstarter, so it's probably not out yet, but it's coming. And I thought that was pretty interesting. I'm wondering how much of a difference it's going to make in your picking style, picking technique. Just got a commercial. Okay, Dave, thank you for letting me know. I appreciate that. Alex wants to know if I've tried the aux with an FR cab, blending with the dry speaker out on a live gig. I haven't ever taken the aux with me on a live gig yet, Alex. You know, it's a pretty expensive piece of gear, and I don't like moving it out of the studio. I like to keep it here. I use an FR speaker anyway when I'm going from on occasion. I'll bring my FR speaker when I don't want to bring my amp, and I'll just bring a multi-effect. Sometimes I'll take my Fractal or a smaller multi-effects unit and just go into the FR speaker. Works pretty well. The trick with the FR speakers is to set your sounds playing through the speaker and not through your headphones listening to the multi-effect, because then it's going to throw everything off. So basically set it while you're listening to the sounds coming from the FR speaker. That way you can be sure you get the same thing in a live scenario. Jack's playing his Epiphone. Yes, very cool. His Les Paul Standard. Cheers, guys. Need a sip of water. Mr. Fats wants to know if I'm going to be building any guitar kits anytime soon. That he saw a couple on Amazon and they look cool. Yeah, generally winter is the time where I go into hibernation mode, and I'm always looking for some projects to pass the time. And I do have a project already lined up. It's another Telecaster style guitar I spoke about before. It's a sort of a Jimmy Page Dragon style Telecaster that I'll probably be working on it at some point. And I have another kit also that I haven't actually put together yet. It's a Les Paul style kit. I'm just saving that one for later. That one's going to be more involved, so I don't want to necessarily build it quick. There's a lot to do on that one. Eventually I'll get around to it. DMAC wants to know if anyone's played the new Headrush FR Go. I haven't. It looks really cool. I've owned the larger Headrush multi-effects unit in the past, and it was very solid. I wouldn't hesitate to pick up another Headrush. The only reason I sold that one was that it had a rather large screen on it at the time. The big ones did, and I didn't want to break it. And that's why I ended up selling it. But the small one looks sweet. Johnny Guitar 57 says, has anyone have or have any experience with the Fender Player 2 Stratocaster HSS electric guitar, transparent cherry burst chambered mahogany body? I've seen those quite a few times, Johnny, but I didn't buy one. I don't have one. I was always intrigued by the chambered mahogany body, wondering how that sounds overall. It must be quite different than a regular Strat. So yeah, if anybody has one of those, please let us know. We have a question for you. Vox says, would a standard stereo speaker be considered FRFR since they are designed to exactly replicate the input signal? I'm not really sure. I don't think so. Even a standard stereo speaker is colored to a certain degree. I don't think it's very difficult to get a stereo speaker that's going to be able to take that kind of abuse. And I think even though they're flat response speakers, I think they're still tailored to the mid frequencies a little bit more. I'm not really sure, to be honest with you. You can probably find some speakers that would work, but I wouldn't necessarily go pumping your guitar output into your speaker system. Stuart says, I go back and forth with Tortex Flex 88 picks and the Ultra Jazz 3 XLs. Yeah, I like the Jazz 3s. I've tried the Tortex picks as well. They're pretty nice as well, but I usually like the Jazz 3s a little bit more. I ordered, what did I order recently, guys? Let me just see here. Let me just see. I'm awaiting a delivery right now. It's a where is it? Here we go. I was looking at getting more of these picks, which are the Herco picks that I like a lot, but they're very expensive. These are the Hercos. These are 75s. So I ended up looking online, and they're pretty expensive. So I ended up ordering the Planet Waves picks, which are they call them the Nile Flex picks. It's nylon. They're pretty good, and I got a 25 pack. I think I paid them $14 or something. Which are they're kind of like knockoffs of these. Same thickness, same style. So I'm gonna try those. See if they're any good. Rick says, Tony, I'm all about Frankenstrats. I just sent you a picture of the Frankenberry, a 1990 Strat plus neck scalloped bare knuckle Irish tour neck middle stock double bridge. Okay, I'll take a look at that, man. Oh, I want to show you something, guys. Can I show you something real quick before I forget? I ended up getting something. I'm kind of in the way, so I'm just going to stand out of the way. See that little thing there? This little guy? I'm giving my guitars a little spa day. That's a humidifier. I usually don't have a humidifier in this room. And I always notice that in the wintertime, when we start up the heating process, everything gets a little bit out of whack. So I ended up buying one of those things, and I love it. That was kind of like, I guess, a Black Friday purchase, or I don't know what it was. Very inexpensive. $49 Canadian. So it's probably even cheaper American. And there's like a 17% discount right now on Amazon. So here, I'll give you guys the link to it. It's pretty sweet looking. I'll put it in the chat here. And if ever you want to get one, I highly recommend it. It's small enough to be very practical. I'll share this is the page. Can you see this? It's called the Levoit, whatever the hell it's called, Levoit, but it doesn't use filters. So it's basically an air mist filter for small rooms. It's really cool because you can actually put quite a bit of water in it. So it lasts quite a while. You can top fill it, and I love it. It just, it's on relatively low right now, but it has a nice mist. And since it uses ultrasonic, I don't know, technology, if you want to call it that, it works really well. I try and keep the humidity to at least 40%, between 45, around there. You got to keep especially if it's acoustic guitars, you definitely want to have them. You definitely want to have acoustic guitars humidified. Guys, excuse me for a second. I have to blow my nose, and I don't have any Kleenex. I'm just going to get some. Be right back. Don't move. Sorry, guys. I hate that. I hate when you get the sniffles in the middle of a show and you have no... I should always have a box of Kleenex around. Got it. All good now. All right, where was I, guys? Eddie says, best part of the show. Sorry if it's too loud, guys. Oh, now it's out of tune. Danielle says, I found a humidity gauge that has a low-level alarm. Having the alarm is nice. It does not take long for the humidity levels to drop in the winter when the humidifier stops running. Hey, that's really cool, Danielle. I didn't think of that. Where did you get that from? I'd buy one of those. Because you don't want the humidity to be too up, too too humid is not good either. Davis says, I get it, Tony. I have COVID right now. Oh, man, sorry about that, dude. Sorry to hear that. Hopefully you'll get over real quick. Eddie says, the change in weather is wreaking havoc on my guitars. I've had to tighten the necks on 3 guitars so far, but I live in a box under a bridge, he says. I don't think it makes a difference where you live. If it's too humid, it's too humid. So, tuners are for quitters. That's what I say. I agree with you, Vox. All right. Oh, one other thing I actually purchased. I might as well share this with you also. I'm a big fan of these mats. These Mr. Power guitar mats. My guitar mat was kind of wrecked because I use it all the time on my little bench, and I was looking around to see if there was something better. There's not much out there that works better than this. I'll share the link also if you guys are interested. You might want to buy one of these if you're working on your own guitars. I think they're really a nice thing to have. You can do without. You can probably use like a towel or something like that, but I really like this one because it's got cork on it. I'll show you what I mean. This guy. So it's 33 bucks. It's a little cheaper right now. They have a little discount, a 20% discount, but it's a little roll-up mat. I use this all the time on my bench. One side of it has like a rubber non-slip type of material on it so it doesn't slide off your bench, and the top part of it has a nice cork so it doesn't react with any kinds of guitar finishes, and it's nice and big. It's big enough for a bass even, and it works really well. I use that all the time. I also got one of these things here which I like as well, also made of cork. They're great. They last well. You can use this, for acoustic guitars, electric guitars. They work really nice. So I got the set, and I got a brand new one now because mine was getting worn out. But yeah, they work really, really well, and it's nice to be able to take care of your guitars. Be careful with yoga mats, Stuart. Some of the yoga mats are actually made out of a type of rubber. And certain types of rubbers will react with certain types of finishes. I learned that the hard way. They used to make the old stands, the little rubber part that holds onto the neck, Some of the older ones were made of this rubber, and if you have a nitrocellulose guitar, it actually will interact with that and slowly melt the finish on your guitar. So I wouldn't necessarily leave a guitar too long sitting on a yoga mat. You might end up with some blemishes on your finish. Rubber's no good, man. Yep. So I'm giving you that little piece of advice that I learned the hard way. Oh, by the way, have you guys, any of you out there have a Soldano amps, amplifiers? I love Soldano. I love the Soldano sound. They recently released a new pedal, and it's basically the Slow Plus. It's a recreation of the Soldano sound in a pedal. So if you like that sound and you can't necessarily afford the full-blown Soldano amplifiers that are very expensive, I think Soldano amplifiers are probably what, $4,000 or $5,000 or something like that right now. They're also extremely loud. So if you get the Soldano Super Lead 100, it's 100 watts. I think a few people love that sound and use them a lot. Like back in the day, I think Mick Mars used that a lot. I think Warren DeMartini had one as well. And I think, of course, Gary Moore at one point was using them. Eric Clapton even was using them at one point, I remember. Mark Knopfler, a few others. I don't remember who exactly now. But anyway, you can get that Soldano sound, the Super Lead, in a pedal. It's $269 though. It's not inexpensive. But hey, it's a lot cheaper than $5,000 if that's the sound that you're looking for. So I thought that was pretty cool. And I think they're going to be releasing a lot more products in the next little while because we're getting close to NAMM again. Yeah, that's exactly it. You can relic your guitar using yoga mats. Exactly. Let me know how it pans out if you try it. Alex2112 says, Tony, tell me how you make file the nut on my guitar strings are getting hung up. What file do you use? Okay, so you want to know what type of nut file I use? Okay. I actually don't have the best files when it comes to filing the nuts because they're very expensive. You can actually buy dedicated nut files and all the different gauges. They have a variety of different ones. StewMax sells them. If you want to buy the good ones, they're relatively expensive. If you want to buy an entire set, you're looking at probably about $200 for the good ones. So I didn't use those. I didn't buy those because I don't file the nut all that much. I just need to fix them from time to time. So I have a set of feeler gauges that have been notched out that were made for me from someone, and I have all the different gauges with little notches, and it works relatively well for quick fixes, but I wouldn't necessarily recommend those if you're fixing guitars every single day. But they were relatively inexpensive, and I don't know if the guy still makes them. If you want to go with the good stuff, you're probably going to want to look at the stuff that StewMax sells. And basically StewMax, I think, gets them from Hasco. They just put their StewMax name on them. But if you go on to eBay, you could probably find the Hasco ones. Here, let me look. You just have to be careful because the ones that actually, I think Solo Music probably has them too, if I'm mistaken. Yeah, there we go. I'll share that with you. I'll show you what I mean. This is what, if I had like money to blow today, and eventually I should get them, I'd get these. These are Hasco nut files. See, they're $194. As I said, they're about $200. And these are, you gotta make sure you have the right gauges. These are 10s, so 10s to 56. So if you're playing 8s or 9s, you probably have to buy 1 or 2 extra files, because this one goes all the way from 10 gauge to 56. But these are really good. They're really great quality nut files. Hasco makes good stuff. That's what I would recommend. If that's what you're looking for, if you have a budget, get those. You buy them once, and you're gonna be you're going to keep them for a lifetime. The Music Nomad ones are interesting too. They're a little smaller. They're a little less expensive because you're actually getting less file for your money. But I would, if I didn't have any limit in budget, I'd go Haskell all the way. All right, guys, give me a thumbs up if you don't mind, like Caesar used to do. that was definitely not something you'd want to see in the Roman days. When somebody goes like this, you know what's going to happen. Release the lions. Black Hat Jester, love the name, says, "Hey Tony, combo or heads? Which do you prefer and why?" I love heads, and somebody's gonna make a it's gonna make a joke. I know it always goes in that direction, but yeah, who doesn't love a little head, right? I like the head version of amplifiers, guys. Let's keep it clean. There could be kids watching this, because for me, I like the flexibility of using different amplifiers with different cabinets. So as you can see here, I got two 12-inch cabinets here. I have the Ignator. I have another one that I built under there. You can't really see it. Different speakers. And then right beside that one, I have a 212 cabinet in there with different speakers. And then I have a 4x12 behind me. So I like the ability to try different speakers, and the heads make that a lot easier for me. Plus, I also like the ability to bring the amplifiers when I go and rehearse. And since we already have cabinets in the rehearsal room, instead of having to lug a heavy combo, I just grab the head, and it makes it a lot easier for me. Does that make sense? Paul says, "I have a large all cotton towel to lay over anything that I lay my guitar on. I can clip it on the table and comes off to launder." Yeah, I used to use things like that too, Paul, like towels and little carpets and rugs and stuff like that. But what I don't like about that is that if you're doing any kind of soldering work, the little solder bits that are left over, sometimes little wire and stuff like that, sometimes will go into a towel or into a little carpet or something, and you lay your guitar on it and it actually scratches the finish on your guitar. With the cork, since it's perfectly flat, you can see all of that and you can just brush it all off, and you know you're not gonna scratch anything. So for me, I just like the cork. I like the cork. I didn't say I like to cork. I said I like the cork. You guys. Richard says, "I'll check out the Haskell files. I just scored the Z file to Crown during Stewie's half price sale. Probably should have gotten the files, but I'll get a lot. I get a lot of mine pre-cut, I think you were trying to say. Yeah, eventually I'll get them too." Stuart says, "Stumac gauged nut slotting file set for electric guitar for medium strings. Set of 6, 10 to 46, $58 right now? You sure about that, Stuart?" Oh, you got my attention. Let me go take a look. If it's $58, I might actually pull the trigger on that here. Even though it's not a complete set, right? Is it because they have their holiday sale right now? Let me see if I got the right ones here. Because the ones I'm looking at here are $41 each. Are you sure you're looking at the set? Here, let's look at this together, boys. All right, looking at this now. So this is double-edged nut files. So here you can see that they're each. You can order the ones that you want. Let me see if I have, maybe there's another one here. Is it this one? Again, remember I'm in Canada, so the prices are going to be slightly different here. Light, medium strings. Is this the one you're talking about? No. Not sure if these are the Haskell ones, though. Okay, I'm going to look at that. I'll check that out. And Stuart says 50% off at StewMac and Amazon. I haven't seen these on Amazon, by the way. Let me check. Because I don't want to order them through the mail. If I would order them through the mail, it would be a long wait because we still have the strike going on. The postal workers here are still on strike. I don't see them on Amazon here. I don't think those are the Haskell ones, though. They don't look exactly the same. No. I'll have to look at them later, but maybe you can send me the link. Because they look like these. To me, the ones that you showed me there kind of look like these. And I'll show you what I mean. They kind of look like these, which are not that good. I'm not sure if we're looking at the same thing on... but they kind of look similar. Maybe they're not the same. They get good reviews here anyway. Excuse me. So Eddie says those are the files I have. Paid over $100 a few years ago. Okay, I'll take a look. Thanks for that. I appreciate it. Maybe that'll be another stocking stuffer for me. I'm always looking for tools when it comes to getting my guitars, just dialed in right. Another pedal release that they've announced is the new MXR pedal, which is basically it's an interesting pedal because it's a little odd. They call it layers, and from what I understand, it's a pedal that you can use to freeze a note and sustain a note or a chord while you're playing over it. Now, I think a few other pedal manufacturers made this type of pedal. So it's nothing new per se. They're just using their take on it. I don't feel like it's something that I would necessarily, die to have. It is $229, so it's a little expensive. For me, if I had to choose that or the TC Electronics pedal, I'd rather choose the TC Electronics pedal because it's less expensive and I can do way more with it. But if you're looking for this specific type of effect, just basically, it's a sustain pedal that freezes a note or a phrase or whatever. It could be interesting. I don't think it's going to be that popular. The funny thing is that the TC Electronic pedals also often have that function already built in. I think they call it mash technology. So basically when you're playing, if you hold the switch on the pedal, it'll do exactly that. It'll just maintain the note or be able to sustain that note. So it comes built in with a lot of the TC Electronic stuff. If you didn't already know. Nella says $60 on Amazon US. I don't know about that, Richard. Richard says, if I buy half on Amazon, half from StewMac, will they be free? Perhaps. Why don't you try it and let us know? Nothing's free today, man. Let's stop joking around. Yeah, a lot of people do like the Spark. J. Paul says, highly recommend the TC Electronics Spark pedal in my Katana FX loop. It's unreal. Yeah, that's another one that I think is kind of a sleeper pedal. So yeah, let me just put this guitar down for a sec. I want to grab the other guitar. We're gonna look at the poll question here in a minute. By the way, I don't recommend you guys do what I just did. Always use a stand. I'm just running out of stands. I miss this guitar, man. I've had it for a while now, and I did a couple of little tweaks to it, and I think it plays even better now. It was getting a little bit of the, you know, the frets were popping out a little bit. This is why I ended up getting the, you know, the spa for my guitar. Eddie says, I once got a free estimate, ended up costing me $4,000. An estimate for what? Didn't catch the front question for that one. Nella says, so where did you get that guitar, Tony? This one? I made it. This is a kit that I built. Well, a kit. It's a part caster, basically, that I built. I put together. This is my version of the EVH. I've shown this guitar a few times, Nella. I thought you probably would have seen this one already. This is not a off-the-shelf Fender version. This is one that I built. Ad break. Aye, more ads. I think YouTube knows exactly where to stuff those ads. You know, a perfect way to interrupt the show, I think. I think he's talking about the Boost TC Electronic makes, not the Positive Grid series or Spark amps. Yeah, it's the Boost. That's what I'm thinking. The small pedal. So Stuart R says the StewMac files are round bottom. The Hosco files are square cut. See, this is why I'm saying those are probably not Hoscos. Thank you, Alex. Yeah, I love the way this guitar turned out. I put a lot of time into it. I wanted to make it look real enough, and you know, just basically looked at all the different wear and nicks and stuff like that. Tried to make it as close as possible to the real thing, but I mean, it's still my version. I didn't put the cigarette burns in the headstock like he has. I didn't necessarily want to do that, but maybe if I start smoking, maybe I'll do that. You know what's funny? This is where all the tone comes from, right here. You have to have that 1971 quarter in there. That makes all the difference. And of course the tone knob, you know, the volume control that says tone, you know, that's iconic Eddie for you there. All the little quirky things. It's funny how, you know, after looking at all the details on the Frankenstrat, like, it was kind of a crappy guitar if you think about it, right? But it just became so iconic. I'm surprised that Eddie was even able to play that guitar. I think he just ended up getting used to it, and eventually, you know, he learned how to you know, how to actually work his way around it, you know, based on the fact that that's the guitar he played from day one, and it just morphed into different things. Eventually, I'm sure he had, you know, very talented luthiers look at his guitar and, you know, just made it sound the way he wanted it. But I'm sure his original guitar was kind of a little bit rough around the edges, to say the least. Hey, Eddie, thank you so much for the super chat. I appreciate it, man. Thank you. You know, you're supporting the channel, which I love, and it's very encouraging, Eddie. Thank you so much. I appreciate that, man. Can we look at the picture that that Rico sent me? Because Rico sent me an email, and he says that he went to the Alice Cooper Christmas pudding fundraiser last week. He said that it was an interesting evening, had a lot of interesting musicians there too. Mark McGrath was there from Sugar Ray. Mark Morello was there. Gretchen Wilson was there, country singer. Jimmy Eat World was there as well. Squier was also there. And of course, Alice Cooper was there. And Alice has two sons. He says, soon to be 3. Teen Center. Sorry. Alex has 2, soon to be 3 teen centers in Phoenix. And they focus on art and music. And there was lots of auctions as well. Dinner with Alice Cooper went for $100,000. So if you're a real Alice Cooper fan and you got 100 G's burning a hole in your pocket, you could have actually had a nice supper with Alice. I wonder if Alice pays the bill in terms of supper, or if you have to pay $100,000 and still pay for supper. Hopefully not. But anyway, Rico sent me a picture. So I promised him I would show you guys the picture. So let me see if I can pop that up on my screen here. And let's see here. So there's the picture. So you can see Alice and Tom. I guess they're playing one of Alice Cooper's well-known songs there. Looks like everybody's having a good time. I mean, Alice is doing quite well for himself, I gotta say. He's keeping it going. And I don't know how old Alice Cooper is right now, but he seems to be doing his thing. I guess it's all that clean living. Alice always said that he wasn't into drugs and all that kind of stuff. I don't know if he if it's still the case or not. But I'm sure it was a very interesting night. So thanks for sharing all of that information with us, Rico. I appreciate it. I don't know if Rico is even still here yet, but if he left early, hopefully he'll be able to see it on the rerun. Tax write-off, says J. Paul. I don't know. Think so? I don't know if you can put that as a tax write-off. I don't know if the government would say, yeah, no problem. Richard says he used to see Alice walking around downtown Phoenix all the time. He has a bar across from the baseball stadium called Alice Cooperstown. That's cool, man. Hey, you got to diversify as you get older, right? Just got to pay the bills. So, yeah, that was very cool and interesting. One thing also I wanted to say is that Behringer is on a rampage. I don't know if you guys know about the Behringer pedals coming out, but they've already announced a fuzz pedal, which is called the Fuzz Bender, which is a kind of a clone of the Tone Bender, which I want to buy because why not? Looks pretty cool. They've also announced another pedal, which is a clone. And now this week, they've announced another one. So I don't know what's going on. They've announced one for bass players. And this is the what they call the holy grail of vintage stomp boxes, recreating the legendary Maestro BB1 bass brass master for $69. It's basically a repro of the bass brass master fuzz. Dead ringer for the original fuzz pedal. So I don't know if this is only, like, I don't know. I'm sure you can use this for electric guitar too, but I think it's voiced originally for the bass guitar. So they're on a rampage, man. And if I'm not mistaken, I think they even mentioned that they were gonna make another one, and I can't remember for the life of me which one that was. I think it was like an Echoplex. Was it the Echoplex or was it, man, there was a couple of them. Hold on, let me see here. Oh yeah, the 69 Vibe. 69 Vibe, that's the one. So the 69 Vibe is basically also a clone of the Leslie type rotating speaker sound of the Univibe. And you know how expensive original Univibes are. And even some of the more boutique-y sounding Univibe pedals are quite expensive. You know, you basically get that Jimi Hendrix sound, you know, Foxy Lady, Purple Haze, those kind of sounds. I like the Univibe sound. It's really cool. And so I don't know how many more of these pedals they're going to be coming out with, but they're catching people's attention also because I think these ones are not in the typical Behringer plastic containers, plastic modules that they normally use, and a lot of people don't like those. So they're getting away from those with these models, which I like, and they're very inexpensive. So, you know, I'm gonna grab the 69 Vibe. I'm gonna grab the tone bender, fuzz bender, and I might even grab the Klon. Who knows? At that price. Now I don't know if this is gonna be moving forward, you know, standard issue for Behringer, if they're just gonna keep on doing these knockoffs. But I think they're basically hitting the mark in terms of what people want. Because, you know, let's face it, they've been making knockoffs for a long time, just, you know, in their own way. Just that now with these, they're kind of being a little bit more forthcoming in terms of this is what we're knocking off. You know, there's no more beating around the bush. We're making it quite obvious. I guess they figure other companies are doing it. Why wouldn't they be able to get away with it either? Yeah, Ian. they're making a Univibe. I don't know. It's not out yet. I think they're going to probably be releasing these at NAMM. Here it is. So there you go. That's the Univibe. And there's a video out. You can check it out with that funny sounding guy there. But yeah, there's no price yet, and you can't buy them yet, but I think they're going to be released just around NAMM. I think that's what they're planning, and they might have a few more in store. Who knows? Yeah, I'm gonna probably end up just getting the Clone 2 just to compare it to what I already have here. See how it pans out, you know? I think a lot of people are looking at those, Alex. They seem to be quite interesting, man. We'll see what happens in the long run if people are going to complain, but I don't think people will. I think they know, and if the price is good and the build quality is decent, I don't see why they wouldn't sell like hotcakes. Everybody's looking for a good deal. All right, let's look at the poll question. Yeah, Richard, I like the Super Fuzz. Well, what they call the fuzz bender, right? But I know that they had the previous version, the one that was in the plastic enclosure, which was also sort of a clone of a couple of different fuzz pedals. I think the fuzz face was one of them. So I don't know if that's the one that they call the Super Fuzz. The one that they're releasing now is really a copy of the Tone Bender. And that one is really like, even the housing looks like it. You know what I mean? Even though the enclosures are plastic, they seem to last. So if they're plastic but they last, I don't really mind. It's just that when you're used to a metal enclosure, you just feel like the metal enclosure would be a little bit better. But I'm eyeballing the Univibe as well. All right, let's go to the poll question. Now, for the poll question, again in the community tab, it wasn't meant to be like a question that would include all of the blues artists. I know a few of you already commented that some of them were missing and whatnot, but the reason why I brought this up, and the question was, when it comes to blues, who would you rather listen to? Stevie Ray Vaughan, Albert King, Jimi Hendrix, or Gary Moore? And the only reason I brought it up, and originally I was only going to include Stevie Ray Vaughan and Albert King, because those two are very similar. Like, Albert King had a huge influence on Stevie Ray Vaughan. And you can definitely hear a lot of the Albert King playing style or little nuances in Stevie Ray Vaughan's playing as well. And I'm a huge Stevie Ray Vaughan fan. I love Stevie Ray Vaughan since I was a teenager. Thankfully, I had an opportunity to go see him play live when he was in his prime, I would say, and blew my socks off. And I still remember that night fondly. One of the best shows I've ever seen. Like, he just blew my socks off. But I know he's not for everyone. So I wanted to ask the question, which artist you feel you would rather be listening to? And not surprising to me anyway, Stevie Ray Vaughan came out on top. 48% of you said Stevie Ray Vaughan. Only 11% of you said Albert King, which is surprising since, in a way they're kind of similar. But I understand, after you listen to Albert King, it kind of gets a little boring after a while because he's not as dynamic and spontaneous as Stevie Ray Vaughan was. And basically Stevie Ray was on overdrive most of the time, so it definitely made it more interesting to listen to. 21% of you said Jimi Hendrix. So I don't know if Jimi Hendrix is falling out of favor with guitarists. I think a lot of people are maybe like not fed up with Jimi Hendrix music, but you know, it's been around for a long time. We've heard it a million times, and there's how many times are you going to be listening to the same thing? So only 21% of you said Jimi Hendrix, and then only 19% of you said Gary Moore, which I kind of find interesting, because Gary was an excellent player as well, and I really enjoy listening to Gary Moore's music, but maybe he didn't have as much, you know, to offer in terms of, you know, songs that would keep your attention. Stevie Ray Vaughan had quite a few that were just like amazing albums that were great back to back. Texas Flood was one of them. Couldn't Stand the Weather. That album was one of my favorites and had so many great songs in there. Now, obviously, there's people missing from the list, and you know, people mentioned Rory Gallagher. And Steven says need to have an all of the above selection, which is defeats the purpose of the poll, but I get it because they're all great players. And somebody mentioned Joe Bonamassa as well. Jeff Healey, of course. We can't forget Jeff. There's a lot of great blues artists out there. Walter Trout is one of a really great player that I enjoy listening to as well. Also in the flavor of sort of Stevie Ray Vaughan, Jimi Hendrix, kind of all mixed up. Gary Moore, great player. If you don't already know Walter Trout, definitely give him a listen. So that's the reason why I kind of put out that poll this week. I was just curious because I was listening to Stevie Ray Vaughan, Albert King, and just the influence that one had over the other. It's interesting how the whole idea of music is basically somebody starts a spark and influences another player, and that player takes that spark and kind of puts his own spin on it, and it just keeps the wheel turning, you know. It's quite cool. Thank God for that. Otherwise, music would be rather dull, you know. Richard says, gotta say Moore or Hendrix. I would add the Jimmy Page is. I would add that Jimmy Page is slouch for blues either. I guess you meant no slouch for blues either. Well, Jimmy Page is one of my favorites. And Steven says Stevie loved Albert's phrasing. The cool thing about Albert King's playing, and I think that was a lot of the reason why he had that type of phrasing, is because he's playing a right-handed guitar left-handed, and the strings are not flipped. So basically the low E string is at the bottom of the fretboard as opposed to being at the top. So when he's bending his notes, instead of bending upwards like you would normally do when you're playing, instead of doing it upwards, he's bending downwards. So if you're bending upwards and then he's bending downwards, it definitely has. I can't do it. I'm out of tune there because I'm not used to bending the high strings downwards like that. But you know, it definitely has a different attack, and that was a very notable point in Albert King's playing style. And it's funny because Stevie heard it and he reproduced it extremely well, even though he was playing his guitar right side up. And he had that, you know, he had a few different types of very well-known Albert King licks. When you heard them, you can instantly identify that it was Albert King playing. So yeah, I think without Albert King, we wouldn't have Stevie Ray Vaughan, that's for sure. And most of the time, whenever we're talking about blues and or just phrasing and all that kind of stuff, a lot of people will mention David Gilmour. And David's playing was less typical blues, but he definitely had that blues influence in his phrasing. And it's all about, I think David Gilmour is all about feeling, It's not about impressing you with a lot of notes or playing quickly or anything like that. It's all phrasing and like the feeling that he can offer you as a listener when he bends that note. The double bends and all that crazy stuff was really amazing for sure. So Steven says, as an old guy, Steven, you're not old, man. It's all in the mind. He says, I can attest to the internet being outstanding for music artist exposure. As a kid, we all we had was the radio and then the new cassette player. Yeah, and when you're learning how to play a song and you want to learn a riff or a lead or anything, when I was a teenager, I was dropping the needle over and over again on the albums, which wasn't as practical as all of the tools we have available to us today. So we really have no excuse not to be better players, except we don't practice as much. We spend more time looking and analyzing at the information that is available online than actually playing the damn thing. So, it still boils down to you got to put in the hours if you want to be good. So we have no excuses, guys. So Ian says, why is Stevie's trem a lefty? Upside down. I think he just decided to do that because of Hendrix, really. When he saw that Hendrix was playing his guitar upside down and he had the trem bar located at the top, I think it has something to do with also being able to strum better. Like, I think having the trem bar on top might give you a little bit of slightly different dynamics if you're strumming while you're holding the trem bar. I'm not really sure why he did it, but I think it's probably based on Hendrix. Something that caught his eye about the way Hendrix was playing his guitar with the trem bar on the top like that. It's interesting that he decided to do that, Everybody has their own little nuances. If you look at David Gilmour's trem, he likes to cut his short, right? He ends up cutting it quite a bit shorter than it normally would be. And that's a David Gilmour thing. So everybody has their own little nuances. It always blows my mind to see how people are able to play the guitar upside down with the low E string at the bottom. That is something that you got to learn how to do from when you're a kid. I don't see why you would want to do that. It's a lot harder to do it that way. And I don't understand why they didn't just flip the strings over. Would have been way easier, especially on something like a flying V. Wouldn't make that much of a difference. But they didn't do it, which is interesting. Hey, Dan. Dan says he's just stopping in to say hello. Well, thank you for stopping in, dude. So Steven said he played with a friend growing up that played guitar strung for a righty, left-handed. If you look to see what he was playing, you'd get screwed up. Everything was upside down. Yeah, it's true. That is true. You can't follow with them, right? If you're trying to analyze what chord is he playing, the entire chord is upside down. That's the other thing. Is it's hard enough to play the leads when your strings are the other way around. But what about all the chords? I guess Albert King didn't really rely on tabs or books. He probably just played by ear. Yeah. J. Paul says, and he's referring to Mark on this one, he says, used EVH 51503 50S 6L6 for about $1,000 and the rest on a 2x12 is what I do with $1,500, or get a Fractal FM3 turbo and an FR speaker tower. So I don't know if somebody was asking about, like, you know, how to get the most gear for under $1,500. By the way, the FM3 that they just came out with, the actual mini fractal unit, actually it's not the FM3, the mini fractal unit, which is just effects, no amps, is a killer deal if you ask me. They make excellent sounds, and putting them all into a small box and just taking out the amp modeling and whatnot is a great tool if you're playing live and you already have your own amp. Just being able to buy all those options in a stomp box like that is going to cost you way more than what they're asking for, and I think the fractal stuff is top notch. So that's another thing that, you know, if you're looking at expanding your gear, I would take a close look at. All right, guys, I think we're going to wrap it up. We've been talking for, oh man, almost 2 hours today. Holy mackerel, I lost track of time. I was only intending to talk about an hour, and now I'm 2 hours in almost. So sorry about that, guys. Thank you guys for sticking around all this time. I hope you didn't have anything planned. Or maybe you guys are just like laying around today. You're not planning anything big. But yeah, J. Paul, I agree. The fractal is nuts. The only thing that's crazy about the fractal is the learning curve. There's a lot of time and effort involved in really being able to squeeze out all of the sounds out of that unit. I've only scratched the surface, to be honest with you, and there's so much more that the unit can do. You know, I just don't have that kind of time to dedicate to one unit. But if you're trying to squeeze the last drop of tone out of one piece of gear, you're good for a while with this unit, man. Get the fractal. It's amazing, and highly recommend it if you can get just one. If you want to get just one piece of gear and you want to do the most with it, and you're working and you're looking at something that will be able to cover live scenarios as well, studio recording and all of that, fractal you can't beat it, man. It's an amazing piece of gear. All right, guys. Well, listen, thank you guys for tuning in. I really do appreciate it. Thank you for the super chats. Thank you for reaching out to me with your information and additional content and images and all the nice messages you guys are sending. I really do appreciate that. Now, we're getting close to Christmas, guys. I intend to keep the live shows going. So we will have another one next week on the 22nd. Of course, if you can, you know, join us, we would appreciate it, because I look forward to these things every week, and I have lots to say. As you can probably tell, I don't run out of conversation when it comes to gear, because I am addicted, and I don't see that going away anytime soon. So if you guys have any comments as per what you'd like to see me look at or review on my regular video uploads, please let me know. I'm going to try to accommodate when I can. Other than that, guys, stay safe, stay healthy, don't catch any bugs while I'm away this week, and tune in next Sunday for more. Now go out there, grab your guitar and practice. All right, guys, come on. You know, the 2 hours that you spent watching me could also be spent playing your guitar. So please go and give your guitar a little bit of love. All right. Talk to you later, guys. See you soon.